As the N64 Mini just leaked. The story has been going around like crazy this morning, like rapid fire, as a number of high quality images have leaked out that actually have people considering the possibility that they might be what the system is going to look like. They might be press images that we're going to see released by Nintendo sooner than later. And normally when these kind of things pop up, obviously anyone's going to be skeptical, myself included. My initial reaction is always not to take any of these things at just face value and look at them. But there are lots of little interesting details in some of these images that have people convinced that these might actually be real. Either that or they are something that took an incredible amount of effort and skill to put together. They're not the usual kind of blurry, shaky, imagey things. They're not from far away off a computer screen, from a cell phone at a weird angle. There are lots of little things in them that there's nothing that can be easily pinpointed that says this is absolutely fake, there's no way. And I think that's why it's kind of making the rounds and has me a little curious. Normally just kind of disregard these things, but I actually think this might be proof that we're getting this sooner than later. And the other thing too is that it's something that everyone just kind of knew was going to be coming out pretty soon anyway. Something that is an obvious thing that Nintendo is going to be putting out. There's no way they weren't going to do that. And plus with the PlayStation Classic, the Sony Mini, coming out pretty shortly here, where we still don't have, at the time of recording this, a full games list, even though it's like, 7 weeks away, 8 weeks away? Pretty ridiculous, we only know those 5 games. But with that coming pretty shortly, I think that would also kick Nintendo into high gear to get the N64 one out pretty quickly as competition for that. And it was probably deeply in the works already. And there are a couple questions with it though. One, when would this come out? It doesn't necessarily have to be a big holiday item, but I could see it being an additional holiday item. They might pass on the holidays with you have Pokemon coming up here pretty quickly, and Smash coming up, and lots of big items those are things that are going to sell through the holiday season. So maybe this would be one thing too many, but it's a very different market, I think. Targets a different consumer and is an extra smaller purchase. So maybe it could also be just an addition for the holidays. And I don't think it's too late to have something still announced for the holiday season. Normally I would think, maybe we're in October already, but there have been a lot of surprise little releases, particularly from Nintendo, of information with, hey, this is coming out kind of out of nowhere, and pretty soon, within a month or two of it being announced, lots of little things. So that trend through this year, and I just see Nintendo definitely capable of saying, hey, this is coming out second or third week of December, and announcing it end of October. I could see that happening easily. So I think maybe we'll see this holiday season, if not very early next year. So within the next 4 or 5 months, I think is pretty definite. The big thing though with the N64 Mini as compared to the NES and Super Nintendo, I'm not. Unless some big deals have been made behind the scenes, I'm not necessarily convinced at how great this will be. Just talking from personal preference with the N64, I make it no secret that the N64 is probably my least favorite main Nintendo console, but the games that I do like on the N64 tend to be either from Rareware, like they're games like Conquer, and pretty much anything they released on the N64. I played all those games, and I played a couple of third-party exclusives and some kind of stuff that would definitely not be on an N64 Mini. So those games, automatically out those other third-party things that are not big-name things. And then if there's not a deal made behind the scenes with Microsoft, and we don't get any of Rare's games, GoldenEye, any of that stuff, then a lot of my interest is gone too. And what we're left with doesn't really excite me that much, because the N64 is a weird one where I actually didn't play that many Nintendo games, first-party Nintendo games on the N64. I really just wasn't super into the N64. Even some series that I would come to like later, or other series that I liked on earlier Nintendo systems, I just didn't play the N64 versions or entries of those series. I just wasn't into the system. A lot of the games that Amanda and I did enjoy on the N64 would it be enough to make us want the Mini? I mean, something like Pilot Wings, well, we already have that on the N64. You know, Ocarina of Time, we have it on the N64. We have it on the 3DS. We have, you know, like, do we really need the other one? Mario 64, you know, we have that re-release on the DS. We have 2 copies on the N64. There really just isn't a whole lot if it's just first-party Nintendo games to really entice me. So it's kind of the rare question: can they make a deal? Has a deal been made that we just don't know about to get just at least a couple of those games on there? Because yeah, the big thing with the N64 one is just there's a lot that is in question as far as what is going to be on that system that is really going to be enticing. And just speaking, you know, personally here, so I'm very curious about this one because I want to see what's on it. So I'm really hoping that maybe there's going to be a huge surprise and there was a deal made with Microsoft behind the scenes and it's going to be a big Christmas thing and that's just going to be crazy and everyone's going to go nuts on YouTube about that. Or I could also see this being a little more of a dud than the first 2 mini consoles if it's very limited on what actually comes out. So hopefully we'll find out pretty soon, and I think it's going to be coming out relatively quickly here. I do think these are possibly like real images we're going to be seeing in the future, how this thing's going to be looking. So yeah, hopefully this is going to be really cool news. And yeah, just speaking of minis and classics and whatever, Sony, come on, your thing comes out pretty fast. Give us a games list. At this point, I don't understand how you don't know what's actually going to be on this mini PS1 mystery box.